we're decriminalizing everything, which I would probably be okay with, but we're not regulating any of it.
Right.
You look hot.
Girl, you always look hot.
We were gonna be sitting at like a thing where.
What do you mean?
You do.
What?
You know in the podcasts where you don't see the lower body?
Oh, yeah.
So you could wear like, pajama bottoms and so then I saw the frame up and I was like, oh shit.
Okay, do you love it though?
I love
like
it
warm
though.
and fuzzy, right?
And my shoes match it.
Okay.
So it's perfect.
Those are adorable.
That's all
Those
they have
are
with
they
me.
UGG? What are no, they're Birkenstock.
Yeah, Birkenstocks.
Oh
They're
my
Birks.
gosh.
Yeah.
What size do you wear?
8.5.
Shoot, I can't steal them. Okay, fine.
I'll get you a pair.
I do have something else though. This is my little weird spiel, sticky thing. Okay, when I am really talking and having a conversation.
I feel like we have to sit soon though because you're so much taller than me. It's uncomfortable.
Oh, you of all people, it's never uncomfortable.
It's emasculating for me.
Stop it. That's not even the truth. Number one. Number two, when I really loosen up and get chatty, I have my fuzzy socks. So this is my thing. You can easily take those. I'm taking mine off, and you get to pick a pair of fuzzy socks.
What goes in my outfit?
Or you could just go rogue and clash. These are kind of, what are those?
Oh, this is nice.
Wiener
Look, it
dogs.
picks up all my colors.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, there's
Take them both.
still two pairs.
Take them both.
No.
And then I will, okay, which one don't you want? I'll do this one.
Okay, perfect.
What is this? Oh, it's a coffee cup.
I do like coffee, but I still feel like tonally, it's got the kind of
She just
picks
said
up the-
tonally.
Well, did I say that?
You're trying. Okay, how about put those on, but you take these home as a souvenir. No, absolutely. This is the thing.
So sweet.
No, but
okay.
it just makes me
Perfect.
loosen up, like fuzzy socks.
Completely.
I know. So and here's the other thing. It'll make sure that I always have a pedicure.
Right.
Can I see your toes?
Okay. I have to give you hold on. Can I show you this foot instead? Because I've had two small accidents on this foot.
We need to get a close up.
Oh God, must you? Okay, so this foot I've accidentally had two. I keep thinking to myself that I really want to evolve into this kind of minimalist shoe.
Okay.
I lost 2 fucking toenails because of it. So it's like, what? One was a running. No, I'm way too smart for this, by the way. I would never tell anyone to do this stuff, but I'm like, well, I'm different. I don't apply.
Of course.
So I'll run on the treadmill without shoes.
What?
And then I had an accident because my cat jumped on the treadmill. So I turned around. Anyway, so I lost 1 nail that way. And then the other one, I everything I tell people not to do, drop something on my foot.
I'm thinking it's like a weight or something.
Yeah.
Wait.
So this foot's
so it's not cute.
particularly ugly.
Fine,
Yeah.
we'll just do one of your feet. The one with the tattoo.
Yeah, I could do this one. That's
one's
also
great.
tragic, though.
Nice pedicure.
That's a thing. Yeah, because normally they're done. But
I totally put you on the spot in so many ways. But tell me why you're running barefoot on a treadmill.
okay.
Because I kind of follow things that you tell me to do.
Don't do this. This is I literally have videos saying don't do it. So here's the thing. We shouldn't have, when you see these shoes that have, this is crazy platforms.
Yeah.
You're really not meant to have that.
Okay, should I not name the brand?
Yeah, but all of them do.
I mean, the thick Hokas are the craze right now for running.
God, I know. Peter Attia posted something, and I died laughing. It was like a new Nike shoe with some sort of platform, and he's like, I would call that the bust your ankle shoe. And
100%.
I'm like, okay. Here's the thing. For me, I'm like, well, I can work my way into a minimalist shoe because it's going to strengthen the tendons in my feet and the bones in my feet. And everything I tell people don't do has ended up happening to my foot. So I'm like, why did I? This is so stupid.
But I can't believe that it's cost you 2 toenails.
2 accidents.
Okay.
It's the accidents. It's not the training. I know how to work my way into that kind of training.
Sure.
But the caveats you give people, just remember, even if you do this gradually and you can get injured by dropping.
And it's happened to you of all people. By the way, you didn't have to admit it, but you just did.
Because you
on camera.
To see the pedicure.
I know. I will take the blame. Edit, cut, start over. Hi, Jillian Michaels.
Oh my God! And your producer was like, "If there's anything that you don't like, I'll cut it." I was like, "No,
we're lying. Actually, we're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it all.
Perfect.
No, because as you'll see, I'll probably reveal ridiculous things about myself too. First of all, I need you to know that I have cussed you out so many times like this love-hate relationship with you. The fact that I get to meet you in person, I mean, it was meant with love because you're making me better, right?
I know that you need to be better.
No, I know, and I have a question about that. That there needs to be some progress here. But it was the 30-day shred.
Gosh, that video has sold more copies than any exercise video ever. Isn't that weird?
Ever meaning like
Ever.
Richard Simmons, like
all above,
Are
over.
you kidding?
No.
What's the number?
Millions and millions and millions.
I
And
didn't
that's
know that.
including the fact that I ended up getting into a lawsuit with Lionsgate because they put all my fitness videos up for free on YouTube.
Oh.
So we won that, I won, but even with, everyone's like, oh, she's litigious, what a bitch. I swear, just what?
No, just right from wrong. Just right from wrong.
So, long story short, even with all those free views, still.
Unbelievable.
That video, more than any other title.
And what year did that come out?
Okay.
Because I'm trying to remember exactly where I was.
Remembering how bad my hair was. So, I want to say maybe 16 years ago. I might have been 32, 33.
Early 2000s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. I think I got on Biggest Loser in 2006. I was 30. So
6, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then it was a couple years after that, maybe.
Okay. I mean, one of my favorite parts was you're like, we're doing jumping jacks to warm up and you're looking for a modification. No, just do it. Obviously pre-injured, that's fine. But you're like, no modifications. Things are hard. Let's go.
Oh my God, I would totally give you one now. Isn't that funny?
No, but
God,
I needed to hear that. I'm serious because we all can find a reason. Okay, you know what? I had too much to drink last night. I'm tired, whatever. Let me just modify this. But then one thing leads to another to another.
Do you mind if I take this off? Oh, your microphone's on here though. Shit.
Oh, it is? No, it's okay.
It's okay.
We'll put it right. I got you right on the shirt.
Yeah, I'm like now I feel awfully creaky, and you don't have one on.
No, this is perfect.
Was that? Thanks. She's also a sound person.
There we go.
Did I get it? Thanks, Mama.
Just adjust so we make sure it's good.
I love it. That's so much better. Good.
Okay, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I put it in the back. Should I bring it under? Okay.
But since I love it, so she walked in with the jacket on, and I'm gonna be like, okay, so like leave that part in, and then just
I thought it was
continue, especially because I have a.
Get off and go to her.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay.
I love this. Give me that.
Okay. I'm so sorry.
I got it here. This is good.
I thought it was
I'm gonna
being
actually
cool,
make a comment.
but then I got warm, and then you don't have a jacket on.
No, and I usually do because I'm like loser cold all the time.
I'm
all the time.
always cold.
Always cold, wimpy.
Freezing constantly.
Hotel room, 78 degrees. Fortunately, I'm single. No one has to put up with it. Or not fortunately, but I guess for whoever it might be. Yeah, we'll work on that.
That'll end a relationship, by the way, the temperature thing.
Okay.
The thermostat thing,
so
being
you're saying I have to
incompatible?
adjust in order to not be single?
I'm just saying that I have almost come to blows with my wife over the thermostat. I've been
She likes it colder.
freezing.
Yeah, no. Can't do it.
Same.
But look, now I get to actually touch
sorry,
it. No, I get to touch her
I totally shut you.
I'm so
We were talking
excited.
about the modifications, and I've just decided to take my clothes off.
No, I'm obsessed. I get to see your arms live and in person. Okay, so I did cuss you out, but it was out of love. And you really did help so many people. And I know you know that's who you are. That's what you're known for now. But it's not but. And
no, but.
as
But's fine.
no, it really is an and because you're 49. Are you almost 50?
49.
When's your birthday?
February.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I'm almost 50.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm 51. Same.
No, you're not.
Absolutely. And you know what?
Are you really? Oh my God, I thought you were like 32 years old.
Well, it's nice and dark in here, so thank you. We love the lighting.
No, it is. No, we can be totally honest.
No, thank you.
I mean, really?
But here's my thing.
Wow.
I feel a difference. I see that the workouts aren't doing the same things. Like stuff moves around. And menopause, hormones,
That's where you're
all
noticing
these
it.
things.
I'll tell you where
Yeah.
I notice it. And I said this to my wife. I was like, okay, for the first time, I actually see age, and it's in my eyes. Girl, I'm here.
Oh, 100%. I have glasses on my nose.
I'm fucking here. It's so embarrassing. My kids are like, do you need the flashlight on your phone, Mom? And it's like, and my daughter's like, why don't you just bring readers? That the kids are just so embarrassed by me. I've got the candle at the restaurant. My wife has to sign the fucking check because I can't see how much it is. I'm like, what's that say?
We are the same. Wait, how old is your wife?
Oh, she's 38.
Ah,
So she's
yeah.
still, she can still see.
Just wait, hon. It's coming. I know. I'm so jealous of youngsters now, people who are 38, 40. And I just wish I'd appreciated it when I was there. For every reason, the eyes, because I'm definitely that person too.
Oh my God.
But
it happened
like,
overnight, by the way.
so fast.
I thought I had a brain tumor. I was like, I must have a brain tumor.
Okay, I didn't think
I
that.
can't see. Like, what the actual, it was so fast.
It's so fast.
And the hair, this little gray patch. I'm like, fuck you.
Okay, listen. I've been 100% gray for about 25 years. So this is all fake, of course.
Looks amazing.
Well, I mean, I'm obviously not a natural blonde or anything, but I went blonder, lighter to make the gray blend longer in between
so
treatments.
Good.
And I mean, back in the day, it was brown anyway. But here's the part that I'm struggling with, because we all know it's coming, and we try to have great body images. I always tell my girls who are 21 and 17, I have a son in the middle, but the girls, I'm like, it isn't about the weight on the scale, right? It's about being healthy and being strong.
100%.
I haven't stepped on a scale in 2 years. I don't care.
I kind of don't like it either.
I feel it differently. It sits differently. It's not lifting as quickly. So like the physical aspect of that, have you had to change some of your workouts, the type of workouts you do as your body has changed?
Not only would I not change your workout, if I was to make modifications, I would push the up button. And the greatest misconception when it comes to fitness is that you are, okay, I'm losing baby weight. There's no such thing as baby weight. It's presumably, right, let's say a year's gone by since you've had the baby. Stored fat is stored fat.
Yes.
It's not like, oh, this fat cell says baby weight. So there's a completely different prescription. Oh, I'm over 50 now, so there's a different prescription for fitness. There's not. In fact, you look at fitness as follows, right? What's your fitness level? Okay. Do you have an injury of any kind we need to work around? And what's your fitness goal? Those are the three things we take into account, and that's it. It doesn't matter if you're 60. It doesn't matter if you're 20. So what I can tell you is that muscle mass and bone density are more compromised with age, but not if you're exercising, and the science shows that. That you can maintain your muscle, your bone density, provided you're eating an adequate amount of protein.
Right.
You're eating with common sense, you're getting your sleep, and you're doing your resistance training.
Yes, and that resistance is everything. And even the cardio, like I do a lot of HIIT classes, which I love.
It's great.
And then there's cardio involved with the resistance, whether it's body weight or with weights, right? And so to me, it's like, okay, I have an hour and I got both in. What is tough is when, or I'm not, no. Shoot.
Okay, the only thing with HIIT, and I guess I'll just be honest because clearly you could see it on my face, there's no such thing as a HIIT class.
What do you mean there's no such thing? Why do they call it?
Yeah, okay, think of it like this. And again, I like to defer, people love, this is such a weak spot for me is I could tell you something and people love to attack it, right? But if I tell you something and then tell you, oh, but a man said it, then nobody questions it, it's crazy. So, for example, Peter happens to also be an MD, a highly respectable, very likable. So he's one of my go-tos. But for years, I've said stuff and I get attacked. And then the men come out and they're like, oh, it's really just about calories. I'm like, motherfucker. It's just, fuck. So Peter is one of those guys who will tell you that to do HIIT training in the appropriate way, you should be so exceedingly uncomfortable. Otherwise, it's kind of like a junk bucket of cardio. So you either want to live in this zone 2 space, which is like 65, 70% of your heart rate, your maximum heart rate, where you and I could both be on a step mill and carry on a conversation, right? And we could do hours of that. And in fact, I used to do that with the Biggest Loser contestants. That's how they would lose so much weight. I would call it the walk to China. I'd put them on the treadmill on an incline, and I'd be like, okay, see you in 5 hours. And I'd go train another contestant. So zone 2 is great. You could do tons of it, provided you mix it up a little bit to avoid any sort of overuse injury. Oh, I've got shin splints. I haven't done this in a while. Oh, I pulled a calf muscle. Once you're adapted to it, that's not going to happen. Zone 5 is true HIIT training, and that's a Tabata protocol.
Yes.
It really
Which I
is.
love, like 2010, whatever it is.
2010, but if you can do that for more than 3 circuits max,
Yeah, no.
you're just not working hard enough. So that's where it's like a class of HIIT training. Is it 10? So it should be 20 on, 10 off.
Yes.
Right? 4-minute rounds
Yes.
with 4 minutes active recovery. Ideally, 2 rounds of that. So 4 minutes on, 4 minutes active recovery 2 times.
Yes.
Up to 3. But if you go more than that, you could push harder in the 4-minute
And the others,
Yeah.
right.
And
It's almost borderline
you want to
cussing you out again.
It should be that you can't even breathe to cuss me out.
You can't talk.
It should be
It's
like
just in my head.
90% of your max.
Yeah.
I even almost crested my maximum heart rate doing it. You should feel like you want to die while you're doing it.
But I love that. And especially when I'm done, right? Because not because, okay, I'm done, because I'm like, I just killed that. I just did something that made me super uncomfortable.
Exactly.
And now I'm like, I'm gonna look in the mirror and I might not look different, but I feel different. You know what I mean? Not that that matters, but it's just what that does to your...
It all matters, though. You're absolutely right. All of it matters. It's okay to want to look better. There's nothing wrong with that. It's important to feel better. That's great, right? It's important to have more profound reasons, like, oh, I want to see my kids.
Yeah.
I want to, when I'm 80 years old, I don't want to be in the hospital bed forgetting my kids' names. I want to be picking my grandchildren up from preschool because my kids are working. It doesn't matter how superficial. It doesn't matter how profound. All that matters is that you give a shit about it.
Yeah.
That's it. If that moves you, perfect, literally and figuratively.
What's so cool is, it's for us and it's for our longevity, but our kids see this and see the commitment to it and see us making an effort even when it's uncomfortable or cold. I live in the Northeast, cold outside, all of the above, because the excuses are legitimate, I'm sure. But
how's that
I feel like that's our
working out for
responsibility.
you? Asking you
It's brutal.
Asking for a friend.
Yeah. What do you mean? Not in this aspect. I mean, they see what you do. How?
If anything, it's almost counterintuitive. It's interesting. I have tried since the day they were born, and it does not work.
Tried what exactly?
To teach them about food. And they just give 0 fucks. And it's the kind of thing where I've reached a point and they're old enough that there is no draconian parenting. You know, it's like, you're the parent. You know, when you say it goes, I'm like, you think? Like, they go to friends' houses, they go to sleepovers, they go to parties, they go to school. Like, there's vending machines, cafeteria. Like, forget it. This is sleepaway camp. No. And I finally got to the place with my kids where we'd had the millionth conversation about cancer, diabetes, AIDS, blah, 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 blah. And they just look at you and it's like, they look at me like I have 10 heads. So like, okay, mom. And
They'll get there.
The more I bitch and control, the worse it actually gets. The worse the food gets, the more it's like, oh, she wants me to do this, so I'm going to do that. And I got to this place where I said to my daughter, I was like, you have given me such a gift. And she's looking at me in the car in one of her, 13-year-old, like kind of puberty moods.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I have forgiven my parents in a way I never thought possible. Because I used to think, how could they give up on this? Or they didn't care enough about that. And I was like, I know that at the end of my life, on my deathbed, I will know that I've dotted every I and I've crossed every fucking T.
I love you.
And you will work 24/7 to get around me.
Yeah.
And there's only so much of this shit I'm gonna catch, babe. At some point, like at some point, you gotta give a fuck.
But they will come to it when they're ready.
When?
Not soon enough. And then, oh, by the way, each one's different, right? And I have 3 of them, and each one receives things differently.
Right.
The key for me is to keep the rules and the expectations the same, but then sometimes the messaging to each one is different. When I say key, it means today.
Yeah.
Yesterday know tomorrow, who knows, right?
Yeah.
But today, that's what I'm going with. And I mean, I feel like a failure on many fronts quite often as a mother, and that's too strong of a word, but I think we all have those moments, especially if something is going south or they mouthed off. I'm like, I did not raise you that way, and I will beat you if you say that to me again with that tone. Everybody back off, you know what I mean? But like, it's just the respect thing, like it's so hard. And I'm like, but I taught you better. And yeah, it's just a constant learning process. And it's also for like having grace with ourselves because, oh, by the way, you're doing this while trying to maintain a marriage. Oh, a little bit of a career too. So
it's so hard on that aspect of it.
Yes.
Marriage, because everybody parents differently. So then you end up fighting about how to handle the situation.
Mm-hmm.
It is just, I swear to God.
Fighting away from the kids though, right? So they can't hear.
So my son had done something that I didn't think was the end of the world. It's so interesting because with my ex, she didn't think it was the end of the world. I thought it was the end of the world.
So it's like,
right? Now, my wife is at a 10. It's the end of the world. And I'm like, it's not that fucking bad. And so it just, I swear to God. And it's like, you can never, it's tough.
It's tough.
It's tough.
Every
yes,
single
away
day.
from them, but my God, it is so challenging.
And
I
listen,
swear to you.
Mine are in college and you're like, okay, good. Next year I'm gonna have all three in college at once. And it's like, okay, good, they're gone. Never. And we don't want them to be gone, so to speak. But like what I have found, depends on the day.
Depends
on the day.
How many more days until, like when we get through a day, every day we get through and they're both alive and safe, I'm like, oh.
We did it. Success.
Yes.
Yes, survived. But
yes.
now that I'm on the verge of all three being gone and I'm single.
Does that mess with you?
Not even single part. I mean, I'm sure it has something to do with it, but it's more this whole chapter of my life.
Interesting.
That I dreamt of as a little girl to be a mother and have a career as well, but to be a mother.
I get it.
It's completely different because you have to give them those wings and say, goodbye temporarily. They'll come home on fall break. They'll come home at Christmas time. They'll come home in the summer. But their entire lives have been one way. And then all of a sudden, they're not under your roof. And it is like, I'm so proud and I'm so freaking sad too. Life's just going too fast.
I can't relate to that yet because right now, I'm at this place where I'm looking at, my son's turning 12. And the tone, I'm like, oh, no.
See?
And he'll be like, but it's just, and the fear, the things that are coming up are never anything I anticipated.
I know.
You're like, oh, I'll be the cool mom that will like make sure, oh, if you want to try something, tell me. And I just want to make sure you're safe. And like, I'll be the, fuck, if that isn't the least of my problems. You know what I mean? This stuff is so terrifying and diabolical.
I know.
That these kids are up against, that I can't stop, that I don't understand, that's totally out of my control, that can ruin their lives. I'm like, Jesus, it's so intense that I just think if I could just get them to college.
Yeah.
If I could get them this far in life. Like I have this fantasy that I will have crossed some finish line. It's really strange, which all my friends are like, oh no, I'm afraid not.
Yeah, it is a kind of a finish line. One, maybe the first, right?
Right.
And then they call at 1 a.m. My daughter, and my friends consider this a victory, my daughter FaceTimes me at least once a weekend, 2 a.m. from a bar. She's like, Mom, it's our Bruno Mars song.
I would kind of love that, though.
I kind of love it.
I love that.
But
I'm okay with that.
I also know that how many drinks have you had?
Okay.
Because, right? And so I have to be like, love this Bruno Mars song. Remember when you were 12 and we used to sing this in the car and now you're at a bar with guys and a drink in your hand. I love you. Good night. And by the way,
my God, I have to...
Life 360, that app. Do you know about this app?
I heard Megyn Kelly talking about it, actually. What is this
I've talked about this with Megyn, too. No, it's a game changer. You should have it, like, yesterday. And it's just an app, and they have to download it, too. And you can track their every move. Am I psycho? Yes. I don't care. I'm a mother, and I don't...
My ex is really good about policing that stuff. And I constantly used to be like, oh, come on, let them live. And now I'm like, you were right about everything. I was wrong about all of this. Like, I don't give them a colonoscopy for all I care, as long as they're safe.
Now, listen, there can be a line that can be crossed, right? Like, you can get psycho. However, for me, you can track them when they're in the car, and it says their average speed driving.
Oh, damn.
Oh, heck yeah. It's a beautiful thing. Or
My daughter would
last
actually use this
weekend-
against me. She backseat drives the entire
Okay, that's true. So then it might backfire because, Mom,
she's
you're
like,
going 50
she
and a 30.
literally will be like, you know you're going over the speed limit. I'm like, are you fucking serious? You're 13. Do you want to shift to the backseat right now? Like, but she's kind of like, but I like that. I admit.
It's kind of cool. And
I admit.
also, but then you have to put it away when I'm like, it's 2 a.m. And why is the address where she is presumably crashing for the night? That's not the address of the dorm. So I'm gonna have to put this phone down and say a prayer and go to sleep, because when they're old enough, and they're 21, she's 21,
21.
I have to trust that where she is a good place. So it can drive you crazy. You have to like have a line. Hi guys, thanks again for watching my new show. Today I wanna really thank you by telling you about something great, meat. So there's a company called Good Ranchers, and they're America's #1 meat delivery service. And they just launched their new King Box for Father's Day. So the King Box, it's packed with the finest cuts of American meat that will make Dad's Day extra special. Full of thick-cut bone-in ribeyes, which are my favorite, center-cut filet mignons, and thick-cut bone-in New York strips. All of them are sourced from local family farms and aged 21 days to perfection. Buy one today before they sell out at goodranchers.com. As you know, though, the work of a good father never ends. So Good Ranchers is offering free bacon for life with any new subscription. And if you use my code SAGE, you'll receive 2 packs of Good Ranchers uncured applewood smoked bacon with every single order. The best part of being subscribed, the free bacon thing, it isn't just for this year. You'll get it next year and every single year after that too. So here's 3 steps to knock this Father's Day out of the park. Step 1, go to goodranchers.com. Buy their brand new King Box for a dad you know, and subscribe to any of their custom curated boxes filled with 100% American beef, chicken, pork, or wild-caught seafood. That's step 1. Step 2, use my code SAGE at checkout to claim your free applewood smoked bacon for life. And step 3, get free shipping on all your orders and make this Father's Day one to remember. If you needed any other reason to support Good Ranchers, they're not only amazing partners of my show, thanks again, but they support the paralyzed veterans of America too. Every order saves American farms and supports American veterans. So change the way you buy meat today at goodranchers.com. Use my code SAGE to claim your free bacon for life. That life part, that might be the best part. Make this Father's Day extra special with Good Ranchers, because this year, doesn't Dad deserve a little bit more than just a tie? Of course he does.
I can't believe the conversations I've had with them at such a young age. Though.
Well, so let's go there. And I was
We've
going to
had
go
the
here
party
later.
drink, like never take a drink from a stranger.
Sure.
Make sure your drink is covered. Make sure a friend is sober. And my daughter used to look at me and be like, I'm 11. And I was like, but one day you'll be 15.
I know.
And don't please don't get in the car.
I know.
Like, it's crazy because and my kids, I'm like, honey, I've seen the fucking movie.
Yep.
Like I've seen the movie. You tell me like, oh mom. And then you get in the car. And then I don't even want to tell you what happens after that, babe. And they see right through me sometimes. I'm like, are you hearing any of it?
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's seeing, I think. And so sometimes that can be one of the few positives, I think, of social media, because that stuff is out there. I know,
Really?
positive social media.
But we don't
oxymoron.
let them have it.
Well, I'm just saying, even if you
Interesting.
show them something that they
Okay.
might be able to identify with because they're shorter clips versus let's sit down and watch this documentary on drinking and driving, right?
Smart.
But
yeah,
it's
I get it.
more in their language, show them this.
Makes perfect sense.
That's what I've tried to do. And then again, at some point you pray that what you and your wife have instilled in them is what comes through. Big picture today, they're 13 and 12?
I'm almost 14 and almost
13.
12.
Almost 12. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Girl, boy, your girl, Lou.
The girl's older, the
Yeah.
boy's younger.
And she's the one that's the beautiful young lady from Haiti, right?
Yeah, she's Asian.
Oh, gorgeous. Both your kids are gorgeous. What I empathize with you for is the age that they are with where we are in society. My youngest is a senior in high school, Jillian. So I'm like, just get her ass out. Just get her out. Because if she was my kid's age, And what's happening in the schools, what's happening with
The schools,
all the
holy
communication,
shit.
what's happening with the sports teams, what they're allowing. I would be that crazy parent
Yeah.
in the locker room keeping the boy out. It was a girl yesterday, a boy today. And you know what? It's a very difficult topic. However,
Yeah.
as a parent, these are the conversations that we do have to have. You're from California. You live in California.
I moved out.
Are you in Florida?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where are you?
Miami.
I'm in
Coconut
Fort
Grove.
Lauderdale part-time.
Shut up.
Guess what we're going to do?
Stop.
You have no choice. You have to hang out with
I
me.
love it.
I don't have that many friends there, so will you be my Florida
I
friend?
absolutely will.
Okay.
Yeah, California got too crazy for me.
Why?
Okay. This is my parting line. I grew up here. I'm a woman. I'm a gay woman. My mom's a Jew. My dad's an Arab. I have a black kid. And believe it or not, my son is half Latin, even though he doesn't look like it. I hold a million cards in your game of woke victimology poker. And when I leave California, maybe you've lost your fucking mind. Just maybe. Like, when you have me running from home, maybe it's gone way too far.
What was the line? Like what was it?
Oh my God,
I guess
girl,
the
there's
end for
not
you?
enough time. And I actually take this line from Bill and Elon Musk, and they're like, I actually haven't changed.
Yes.
The world around me is shifting, and I haven't moved. So some of these laws that are passing here are absolutely fucking mind-boggling in relation to crime, protecting our kids. Like, we're decriminalizing everything, which arguably I would probably be okay with, but we're not regulating any of it.
Right.
So it's like, okay, you're gonna decriminalize sex work, but only so women can legally loiter on the streets. Like, not to keep them safe, not to have them pay taxes, not to make them, regularly check for STDs, not to take away the pimps out of the equation. It's the, like, if you made that argument to me, I'd be like, well, yes, we want, of course. I mean, I could be liberal. I could go there with you. But I grew up this way. But when it's like, oh, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna pass a law for LGBTQ rights so that 24-year-old men can sleep with 14-year-old boys and not have to register as a sex offender because it's just not fair to the gays. I'm like, what? It's what? Like, I don't know if you saw that one. That was like, I think early 2020 when they passed that law. And so I was like, if a 24-year-old man touches my 14-year-old son, I will get a gun and take matters into my own hands.
Yes.
Like, are you fucking kidding? Or the fact that a 12-year-old child can be put on off-label cancer drugs to irreparably change their body. Again, if my son came to me and said, Mom, my daughter, I think I'm trans, I'd say, okay, like, you want to dress this way? You want me to call you whatever the heck you want me to address? Fine. Explore it. I love you. I'm cool. Like, do you, as long as we're safe. But we're not changing your body until it's fully developed. I'm sorry. Conversation's over. You can't get a fucking tattoo.
Exactly.
Are you crazy? It's insane. Like, I just can't. It's madness. It's madness to me. I could go on and on and on, and it's madness. I don't know what's going on here.
The only word that I've been able to come up with in thinking about it and reading about it and tweeting about it and saying, don't tweet that and all of it is evil. Maybe it depends on your belief system, right? But to me, there's no other explanation because it doesn't make sense. It's not good. It's not healthy. It's not
I can tell you.
scientifically.
I actually have an answer for you. Hold on. Let me play this one out for you. Okay, so here's the problem. I'm gay, so I get a card, and I can say what I want. I'm like, I don't know. I have a letter in your acronym, so sit down. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
I'm allowed to say, this is batshit. No. A straight person who might turn around and be like, this seems really crazy. transphobe.
Oh, I'm a transphobe, according to Megan Rapinoe.
Okay.
Yes, she has literally called me that because of the transgender sports issue, which has science behind it. But because I said, let's say women's
Science
sports,
behind it.
then I'm a transphobe. So go.
Sports is biological.
And it's beautiful that way, by the way.
The thing of it is, you can transition, absolutely. You can change your hormones 100%. But if you look at someone like Fallon Fox, for example, who was an MMA fighter, right? Since, I believe has since retired or is currently retired. I don't believe Fallon Fox transitioned until well into adulthood and was literally cracking skulls. I know. I'm not exaggerating. So at the end of the day, when you have decades of androgenic hormones and you're biologically a man, you're going to have more muscle, improved bone density, better height, greater reach. There's a reason that it's like, oh, so-and-so just won the swimming thing. Oh, and the boxing thing. Oh, and the biking thing. Oh, and the powerlifting thing. I mean, again, and where people struggle is that it isn't fair, and we love black and white. You know, it has to be all good or all bad. And it isn't fair to somebody. You know, somebody isn't going to win here. So the issue is trans athletes have nowhere to play because there's not enough of them to have a league, right? And then you've got the millions of women that can't compete. So someone's gonna get screwed and no one knows what to do with it. And then if you say, okay, no, this isn't fair, you're transphobic. And that's how every conversation is systematically shut down. And you really also have to look at who's behind it and why.
Well, that's a very, very
look
deep
at
issue.
the pharmaceutical industry and how much they're making on transitioning children.
Yeah.
And then they weaponize, I swear to God, and this is not, people love to say, oh, tin hat, Jillian claims, Jillian assumes. I do none of that. Do your own homework. I ask you to do your own homework, not to believe me, but to do your own homework. So they weaponize these civil rights groups, like the HRC, the Human Rights Campaign, I think it is. And these guys will then go out and give you, what is it, a health equity and inclusion? I think it's like an HEI score, but don't quote me on the score, but you get a score, right? And if hospitals are willing to transition children to get behind it, then you get a low score. It's
the way
really
that they're
diabolical.
incentivizing people to say, yes, 12-year-old, go ahead and make this decision.
And if you don't, you then get labeled
and even the financial aspect, which, I mean, when I go back to
billions of dollars.
Go back to the COVID years, the beginning of COVID, and I remember listening to a podcast like May of 2020, and it was
so interesting.
Someone
Just talking about this.
Oh, I get this part what got me in trouble. Bring it now. Let's go, because these are the facts. And I remember May of 2020 listening to a podcast, and it was
Well, it was March of 2020. What podcast was this?
I don't remember. You know what? It might have been Rogan. Probably Rogan.
I saw that episode.
And is it
oh my God, was it Weinstein?
The doctor from Minneapolis?
Evolutionary
from Mayo?
biologist was the one I watched.
I don't remember.
And it was March of 2020, and he's like, I don't want to sound like a lunatic, but these are all the reasons this came from a lab. I'm full-blown lefty at this point, mind you, okay? And I'm listening, and I'm like, oh, this is an Institute of Virology in Wuhan?
Huh.
They're doing gain-of-function research. What the fuck is that? Wait a second. What is a cleavage ferret site? And there's never been one in a coronavirus. I go to all my friends, and I'm like, I think this came from a lab. And they're like, oh, you're married to a conservative.
Yeah.
And I was like, no.
You're going crazy with that
your wife's a conservative,
wife
so she's brainwashed you. I'm like, actually, I mean, my wife is still subscribing to the bat that had sex with the rabbit. She's still over there. Like, I'm telling you, years later, when the CIA, the FBI, the Department of Energy, everybody's like, looks like it came from a lab. I go back to I'm like,
hey guys.
Yeah, and you know what the answer was? Why does it matter?
Exactly.
Why does it matter? Well, because gain of function is potentially as dangerous to humanity as nuclear weapons.
God, but they
What
don't
happened to you? Tell me
want
what happened to you.
see
I
it.
interrupted you. Tell me what happened to
But
you.
they don't want to see the truth now years later. And by the way, we're not scientists. I'm anything but a doctor. I just had a gut feeling, and I was curious because I lived in Connecticut, which is just like California as far as the insane lockdowns and all of the BS, in my opinion, even at that time.
Yes,
So
insanity.
remember, I'm mopping the floors. And oh, by the way, like emotional time, I'd literally gotten divorced like 2 months before the pandemic began. So I'd be up all night, terrible sleep. I was just not in a great space.
Of course.
But all 3 kids home at the time. No one was in college. I just
No.
remember being like, wait, and they're not allowed to play sports, not allowed to do anything.
Yep.
And then this doctor, assume it was the same person, started to talk about what happens at hospitals. And if someone comes in, a car crash victim who's had their head crushed.
They put it as a COVID
put it
death.
as COVID because they got $40,000 per
Yes, I
COVID death
remember
patient
hearing
in
that.
every hospital. And I'm like, wait. So once there's a dollar sign attached to anything like this, you must question. And as a mother,
Agree
it wasn't even about
completely.
me.
Yep.
As a mother, I'm like, wait a minute. And at first, remember, they were fine with any kid under 20. Don't worry about it. No vaccine, they're fine. And then the goalpost kept moving lower and lower. Now it's like, okay, your pre-K kid, you better get it or they're not invited. They can't go to school. So I think with Big Pharma, and it ties into all of this.
Oh my
the
God.
The money, the trans stuff, the money.
All of it ties back. And this is what's so nuts is that I have gone down this rabbit hole. And the problem is that, unfortunately, there's a lot there when you look. And you get like tin hat about who's doing this and what is this great reset? And I can kind of like pull myself back together with the uptick in conspiracy theories. But at the end of the day, if you look at corporate America and where a lot of this is coming from, that's where it's coming from. It's coming from big food, big farming, big pharma, and Wall Street. Period.
And
it's all financially incentivized.
The media and what they're
who owns
getting.
them, by the way.
And then, right?
That's another thing is like, for example, I did an interview on CNN about Ozempic. And the news anchor was like, well, surely, she implied I was anti-science. And she's like, well, we've had drugs like statins and, oh my God, blood pressure medications. And I said, well, I would argue, by the way, that those are also lifestyle diseases. Mm-hmm. And there's a very small percentage of individuals that are genetically predisposed to the point of requiring those drugs, but they do exist. However, there's a cost-benefit analysis to every medication, to every pill, every shot, and so on, that you need to play out. And I thought, how in the world is this woman calling me anti-science? Because Big Pharma pays for 65% of their advertising dollars.
Absolutely. Did you see what Aaron Rodgers did during, what was it, the US Open last fall? And Novak Djokovic, remember, he wasn't allowed to come to our country because he was unvaccinated and all that chaos. Yes. And so Aaron was at the match, and then he took a picture of Joker, like, backswing going, and then he posted it, and in the background, he saw the sponsorship, which was Moderna.
Yep.
And he crossed it out, and then he put Novak's Djokovic, #GOAT.
Oh my God,
and it was so great
funny.
because he's gotten killed too for having his opinions about the vaccine. But I think that, you know what?
That's a whole separate conversation. I heard something really interesting about that, and I wonder what you think.
What?
This gentleman was talking about it, and he, MD, and I can't remember his name, but he was saying, he's like, here's the issue with mandating this vaccine. Put simply, right, if we take the politics out of it, he goes, number one, it's not a vaccine.
No.
It's a shot.
Mm-hmm. Because vaccines do what?
They prevent you. Right. I don't remember getting polio, do you?
God bless him.
So he's like, the efficacy isn't there. People are still getting it. So you're going to have a real hard time convincing them that, because it's in their mind, it's not working. You can say, you're getting a less severe case, this, that, this, but they're still getting COVID and they're getting pretty sick with COVID. Number two, it's not dangerous enough to the majority of the population.
Right.
And he's like, right off the bat there, you've got a significant messaging problem. It's like giving 6-year-olds the hepatitis B vaccine. Whereas I would absolutely say, hey, what's our cost-benefit analysis on polio, measles? Would I give my daughter the HPV shot? I would. I definitely would. I will when she's that age, yes. Because in my cost-benefit analysis, what happens if she gets it? Could it cause this kind of cancer? I'd rather her deal with the side effects. I think, that said, I don't want her getting measles. I don't want her, does she need the chickenpox vaccine? No. Each one is but when they start mandating it, like hepatitis B, that's for drug addicts and people who have risky sex. What 5-year-old?
I know. Do we need to do that for a 5-year-old? But here's the most, to me, along with learning that information from the Rogan podcast, and I love him, and he just has people on, and you can form your own opinion. And for
Definitely,
me,
I agree.
though, but it's also, I did a little bit of homework, and I know that the FDA takes an average of 6 to 9 years to approve a vaccine. And that's science. Let science work. Let them figure it out. So when this is being shoved down our throats and forced, that's when I was like, wait, I'm uncomfortable here. And I'm not anti-vax, I'm anti-mandate. And that's one of the reasons why I got in trouble at ESPN and eventually I no longer work there, because of just not wanting to put something in my body that we don't have enough research on. I think the good thing to come from some tough situations for a lot of us who were vocal about it is that others felt the same way. They just were afraid to say it.
Oh, of course.
And so now...
It's like the tragedy of the commons, like, I agree with you.
Yes.
Wink, wink.
Right?
And
And
you're like,
number of
say
people-
something. I'm out here, like, twisting in the wind.
Alone.
Catching bullets. Anybody?
No, it's devastating, and it's scary. You mentioned Ozempic, and I know that that's been a big thing for you lately. Okay, why didn't I bring my reading glasses? Because now I can't read what I cut out. Okay, we're gonna try. Wait. Glasses. It's your friend, Dr. Terry Jubrow.
Oh, God, it's such a shame that this has come down to some sort of tragic, like, tabloid reality
And
TV.
I hate that for you.
Because it actually is something pretty serious.
But that's my point, Jillian, and that's why I want people who haven't heard it just to. Can I read what he said? Because to me,
of course, please.
I took it personally.
No, yeah,
right?
go ahead.
Because sometimes it's just tone. It's the way you say it, not even your words. And he said, as a board-certified physician and a certified expert for the California Medical Board, I'm not here to debate scientific and medical issues with a personal trainer. This is what he told TMZ, according to Jillian Michaels. And once again, his claim to fame is botched. Real Housewives of Orange County. So he became famous.
He's a plastic surgeon.
He's a plastic surgeon, yes, and he got famous on TV. Great. He continued to say, to ignore or belittle these incredible miracle weight loss drugs is sending the wrong message. Do not listen to her, Jillian Michaels. Ladies and gentlemen, what was your reaction?
Okay, so first, let's establish a few things. Number one, in July of 2023, he was the premier expert in an article from the New York Post about the fact that Ozempic could, quote, cost you your life. He went on to say that he currently had 3 patients in the hospital because of Ozempic who hadn't gone under the knife yet, and that he was urging experts in the field of weight loss to speak out about the dangerous side effects of these drugs. Now, I'm guessing, I have no proof of this yet, but my guess is somewhere, like, what would be the sudden about face, right? I'm guessing somewhere.
A check or two might have been written,
But
maybe.
there's something called open payment, I believe it's called. I go on there often, actually. And you can see who's taking money from the drug companies and how much they've taken. And unfortunately, 2023 is not out yet.
Oh,
Because I was like, oh, come on.
Bring it.
Now, so let's just leave it there. So what happened there? Between then and now, I wonder what happened. But let's table that. This goes back to the fact that professionally, everything we've talked about thus far, I'm not an expert in. I'm not an expert in parenting. Quite the opposite. I'm not an expert in vaccines. Quite the opposite. I don't know shit about COVID. This is just you and I saying like, gosh, I got a feeling, given the information out there, I seem to have formed this opinion, and we're discussing that. This is a different ball game. Professionally, I don't transact in opinions, ever. So the information I'm giving you is fact-based. You can form, not even based, it's fact.
Yes.
You can form your own opinion about that. So for example, when you go to the website for these drugs, you're gonna see all this crazy stuff, pancreatitis, gallbladder problems, kidney failure, blah, blah, all the way down. It's pretty intense. And they're like, well, you know, the more severe conditions of this are rare. Actually, I wanna back into this. Can I back into this real quick? I wanna play devil's advocate. Let's go with the best case scenario, okay? You're one of the 50%, roughly, that has no side effects. Amazing. You've lost a ton of weight. And as a result of that weight loss, you have seen improvements in all your biomarkers associated with heart health. And even though semaglutide is not the most effective drug for lowering A1C by any means, you've seen improvements, right? In your A1C, excellent, which is not a result of the medication, it's a result of the weight loss. That is the mechanism by which you are seeing improvements in those aspects of your health, okay?
Yes.
So if you just lost weight, you'd have all those improvements. No side effects,
Right.
okay? That said, okay, great. Now this is amazing. We're 18 months into it, we're 60 pounds down. Here's what's going to happen. Let's put you in a time capsule. You will plateau on this drug. Not an opinion.
Fact.
Fact. Google that. I'm encouraging to Google. Don't trust me. Google it for yourself. You will plateau on the drug. Your body is homeostatic, which means over time it's seeking a balance. GLP-1 is a hormone, incretin, it's a hormone. So when you are giving the body a hormone exogenously, over time, the body is like, oh, I'm gonna stop making this on my own. Oh, I'm gonna develop a tolerance to this.
Tolerance, yep.
And you will plateau on the drugs. Google it. Now then, what are you going to do when they stop working physiologically? Do you think you're going to get off of it? Because you will gain all of the weight back. All of the meta-analyses show us this. Google it. It's not my fucking opinion, okay? So here's the bigger problem. Now when the drug stops working, if you choose to get off of it, because it's also very expensive, you're handcuffed to this drug for the rest of your life, Google it. Okay, so we get off of it. You've got a couple of issues. Fact, there is, quote, let me quote Peter Attia. Hopefully he's more credible than Dr. Terry DeBro. He will tell you that in his practice, according to the DEXA scans he does with his patients, he sees muscle loss at a, quote, alarming rate. He uses these drugs as a last resort, and he won't even put patients on them until he does a DEXA scan to make sure that they're not older and in a dangerous position where they can't afford to lose muscle mass or bone density. So you've lost muscle mass without question. You've lost and compromised bone density, so your metabolism is going to be slower. You have been starving your body because you aren't eating for such a long period of time that you will then lower your metabolic set point. So we've seen this, if you look at case studies like the Great Potato Famine. I wrote about this in my book, The 6 Keys. By the way, with a medical researcher interviewing doctors. So what ended up happening to these individuals who went through a period of famine is that it marked their epigenome and passed on a slower metabolism to their offspring. So your body, when going through a period of famine, says, okay, we know the food's going to be scarce. So we'll make biochemical shifts hormonally. And it will say, when we eat again, let's make sure we store this. It's yo-yo dieting.
Yeah.
It's science, it's proven, it's fact. So now you've lowered your metabolic set point. So let's say you used to burn 1,500 calories a day without exercise. Now you're burning 12. And you've lost muscle, which is gonna lower your metabolism. And you've been giving your body GLP-1 exogenously, so your body's gonna shut off its ability to make that endogenously. Now, there's not a study about this yet, but I'm going to tell you that with any other hormone that we've done this with, whether it's people, there's a reason I don't take HGH. I would love to do that. Nope. This is why. There's a reason that people, when you take these things exogenously, it'll work for a little while, then there's an equilibrium. That's why when guys get off testosterone, you see what happens. They gain the weight, all these health problems because they were taking it exogenously, so now their body isn't making it endogenously. So now this is something that I would presume, that I would draw the following conclusions, that your body probably will not make GLP-1 as effectively when you get off of it. So there is a devastating rebound effect when people get off the drugs. That's a fact. Google it.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's because of all those reasons that I'm putting forward, but the result is fact. That is our best case scenario.
That's the best case.
So tell me where we're going here. Now, people, and this, I just got in this discussion with a doctor the other day, who's a friend, and he's like, but Jill, I have patients that come in here and they've given up hope. And I said, let's play it out together, doc. Like, where are we going? And his hope, he's like, well, my hope is that it kickstarts these healthy habits. We don't actually know that yet, but here's the only reason I would wonder about that is because what is this drug doing? It's combating hunger. So yes, it's facilitating people taking in less calories, which is the mechanism that is facilitating weight loss, right? But what it's actually doing is combating this insatiable hunger. And when we look at why are people so hungry, they weren't this hungry in 1950, they weren't this hungry in 1960, they weren't actually this hungry until about the mid-1970s, and then obesity starts going up exponentially, right? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the food that we are currently eating in our environment, it is designed to be highly palatable, highly addictive. It does not release GLP-1. It has no fiber. It has no fat. It has no protein. All of those things release certain hormones that say, yo, you're full. Stop eating. It doesn't have any of that.
Yeah.
So you can drink 1,000 calories of soda and be starving. Whereas if I gave you 1,000-calorie dinner that was, let's say, a piece of grass-fed beef and some vegetables and this, you'd be like, oh my God, I'm gonna explode. I can't eat another bite.
Yeah.
So you've got that problem with the food. And the food is also a massive dopamine hit. It's designed to do that. It impacts the dopamine center of your brain like cocaine, nicotine. So that's happening. And then at the same time, I personally think we're lonelier than ever, we're more anxious than ever, our lives are more sedentary than ever due to modern day conveniences. And it's a multifactorial problem that is not solved by a drug that will eventually stop working.
It's gonna stop working.
And then you've got all the side effects of getting off of it. Now let's play out our worst case scenario, which is stomach paralysis, intestinal blockage, pancreatitis, kidney failure, gallbladder problems, muscle loss, accelerated facial aging, hair loss, suicidal ideation. Like, are you fucking kidding?
My God.
I'm just, why am I out here alone? And then I get these messages from friends of mine who are doctors, because by the way, all I do all day long on my podcast is interview doctors. And on the down low, like if I could show you my phone, they arm me with these studies quietly behind closed doors. And I'm like, well, thanks, but anybody? And the reason they can't come out and say it is like some of them get their grant money from the pharmaceutical companies.
So it all comes full circle with the pockets getting lined and Big Pharma.
How much money do you think Big Pharma pays these doctors?
That's what I want to know.
In particular, Novo Nordisk. How much money have they spent buying doctors to prescribe these drugs? Millions and millions and millions of Google it.
Hashtag Google it.
Google it.
Yeah.
It's all public. It's public information.
But this is why we need you. This is why so many of us love you and are grateful because sadly, it takes courage to say what you're saying. Would you agree?
I wouldn't say it takes courage. I would say it takes integrity, because here's the problem.
Mm.
Sometimes I think to myself, you know what I want to do? I want to be like, you know what? If you don't believe me, no problem. I'm going to set up as a function on my app, just like Weight Watchers, just like Zepbound. I'll just hire a couple of MDs and we'll prescribe the drug for you. Buy it through me. You don't believe me? I'll profit off of you.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, do you know how much money I could have made taking money from big food and big pharma? I only lose here. There's a reason that companies like Weight Watchers ride the trends, because they're trying to stay relevant. They're
Yes.
trying to make money.
Of course. Well, it all comes back to that. But integrity is something that I believe so many people have in them. Your friends, doctors, neighbors, whatever it is.
Sure.
But then when it comes crunch time, because they have to feed their families, or sometimes it's just insecurity and ego and reputation. Listen,
I get it.
my entire dream career was imploded because of integrity.
Yes.
And so that's one of the reasons why I was so excited that you agreed to sit down, because first of all, it's devastating, right? When you know that you're out there completely alone and you know that you're right, actually. It's like, wait, what is this? And when you're getting the DMs of people saying,
yes,
I agree, but then they're silent.
Yep.
And so what was your turning point when you said, I am not going to be quiet? And you know what? Aside from these current topics, like I actually go back to The Biggest Loser.
Yeah.
And when you decided to stand up, right, to the executives and to the producers and say, wait a minute, we're just casting off the people who aren't advancing in the show.
That show had a lot of fundamental problems.
And you know what? I
did.
think almost every show in network television does. But there was a point in time where you
walked away
were the only one.
permanently.
Walked away permanently, and you stood up, knowing what? Knowing that you're taking a huge risk by listening to yourself, and that integrity was leading the way for you. Like, how did you make that decision? Because it was massive.
There were issues along the way always. I was on the show, off the show, and there were business issues of their brand, my brand, right? But there were also ethics issues. And I was never a producer on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So every time you would think it was going to get better, some new executive would take over the show, or a new showrunner would take over the show. And I would have to start at ground zero and get in these crazy fights. And it was like just a constant nightmare. That said, I thought I could manage so much of it. When you go back and you criticize Biggest Loser, none of the shit they say about what happened on the show is true. Here's the number one thing that you can critique the show for. Well, why did, I think the number's like 65% of them gain their weight back, which, by the way, is a great number. 95% of the people that lose a large amount of weight gain it back.
Mm-hmm. So 65, yeah.
65 is a good number, believe it or not. But why? Because we didn't have what those individuals really needed, which was an excellent psychotherapist to help them deal with the deeper hunger, period, of whatever that food was providing them.
Yes.
So the diet works, the exercise works, all that's real. I didn't starve that weight off of them. That's a lie. None of that's true. They would walk all day long. I exercised it off of them.
Treadmill,
I
see in China.
Them.
That's what you
that's
say.
bullshit. Don't believe any of that. None of that is the truth. However, for many of them, when they would go home, the same demons were still there.
Yes.
And I'll give you one example so it'll be really clear, okay? When people put on a large amount of weight, it is not because they're weak or they're lazy or they're stupid or they have a willpower problem. There is the component of food being addictive in our environment that we're in and life being more sedentary, but that's kind of like I'm 50 pounds overweight, not 100, 200, 300 pounds overweight. That's a much deeper issue going on, right? So there was this one kid named Austin. He was 18. He'd come to the show with his father, Ken. He wasn't even my contestant, but Bob and I actually used to work together with each other's contestants all the time. And this kid goes home for the holidays, even though on the show it was like, we just want to see how you do at home. It was Christmas.
Yeah.
So we'd send him home, they come home. All the contestants are getting on the scale, and this one loses 5, and this one loses 7. And Dad gets on the scale, and he loses nothing. Ken loses nothing. And I was like, okay. Austin gets on the scale, the kid, the 18-year-old, and I believe, I can't remember, but it was like something like he gained like 6 or 7 pounds. And immediately the other contestants start co-signing the bullshit, right? Oh, traveling in the airport. And I was like, okay, shut the fuck up. Like, don't stop it. So the next day I sit down with this kid and I'm like, just walk me through it. Take me from the moment you left to the moment you got back. Tell me what happened. And he starts off with the nonsense, right? Like, I packed my snacks and I did my steps at the airport. I'm like, yeah. And I couldn't find it there. I'm like, yep, And it's okay. So I get home. The door flies open. Everybody's there. And there's his mom. And she starts sobbing. Not tears of joy. Because she was also morbidly obese. And upon seeing her much fitter husband and son, she was triggered. She felt abandoned. She thought they were going to outgrow her. She went into a depression. So what happens? He slams the brakes on the weight loss. He starts eating with his mom. What does the food provide him? An emotional connection to his mother. It was the ultimate primal abandonment, having lost 100 pounds. So this is the deeper shit that nobody on our show was qualified to handle. And I have an understanding of it because I struggled with weight as a kid, and also because my mom is a PsyD. She has her doctorate in psychoanalysis. So my mom can explain it to me. I understand it. I don't have my doctorate in psychoanalysis. I need someone like my mom helping this kid.
Yeah.
And then they be there for a week, 2 weeks, they go home. Like, of course, none of that shit's fixed. That's what's wrong with the show. That, and when you gamify weight loss, people were losing too much weight for all the wrong reasons. And when Rachel Fredrickson walked down that stage, I hadn't seen her, Bob hadn't seen her. She wasn't actually our contestant. And I say that being like, this is not my fault. However, I was profiteering off a show that promoted it.
Sure.
And that's when I was like, I can sit here and like point fingers. I didn't know, I didn't do it. This wasn't my contestant, but I'm making money on this platform and I'm complicit. And that's when I walked away from it.
And that's the integrity.
That did it.
Yeah. I think that's the big picture of that is number one, taking a stand is huge. And I hope that it's been a long time, but I hope that you can still appreciate what that is and what that means. And even if people fully don't know the whole story, like you know that. And therefore, you can hopefully look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, I did the right thing.
You now have your show to tell the story, so that's perfect.
Well, I'm honored. Honestly, it's just so important to take a stand because it isn't, maybe at first it's about us and then you realize, oh my gosh, I have the power to do something. And if I don't.
What's your legacy though, right?
Yes, then shame on me.
How do you live with it?
But your integrity is incredible. You're obviously fearless in so many ways. Not always, I'm guessing. But I want to go back to when you hurt yourself and your back injury. And I know it's been, a year or so since you kind of fully came out of it?
Let me think. It happened in 2021.
Okay, so maybe a year and a half, 2 years
and,
since.
I think I started talking about it about a year ago.
Okay, so maybe that's what it was. Here's my thing. You are focused on everybody else. Everybody. Your wife, your kids, your family, your show, your bosses, your contestants, everybody. People like me who are cussing you out from afar because you're kicking our ass in the best possible way.
It is all selfish.
It's selfish
if we're being honest.
For me too. But at the end of the day, when it came time for Jillian to take care of herself, it took you a minute from what I read to say, okay, I need to slow down and I need to listen to my doctors, go to the doctor and listen. And in the meantime, isn't there fear when your body, which is how we all know you, when your body,
I don't know that I handled that like a champ though, Mama.
Well, you made the move. You eventually addressed it.
But one of the things that I do, and I remember Susie Orman once asked me, she's like, what kind of expert are you? Are you the one that's always sifting out the mess with your audience? Or are you the expert that's never a mess? And I think, okay, with kids, I'm not an expert. I'll sift out the mess with you, right? With financial stuff, it intimidates me. I'll sift out the mess with you. In my line of work, I'm like, no, I'm a fucking expert. I'm not struggling with that shit anymore. And I'm not gonna pretend that I am. This time, however, I was so out of my just realm of just, I don't even know how to put it. I couldn't stand up for 3 months. I couldn't stand. And I just thought, what does this look like? I don't have the expertise to know really how to communicate this. Okay, if I don't ever walk again, which people kept telling me, you're gonna walk again, stop, you're being ridiculous, you'll be fine. But you're like, I can't stand up. I didn't have any of that whole, you look at people that go through hell, and they somehow find a way to transmute it into this unbelievable wisdom and depth. And I could name a million of them. I'm not one. I had to come all the way out of it, be fine, and then say, oh my God, if this happens to you, you're gonna be fine. Here's what you're gonna do with it. Let's try to make sure it doesn't happen to you. Should it happen to you, let me try to guide you accordingly. But when I was going through it, I hid all of it. All of it. And I'm not proud of it. I'm not ashamed of it. It's just what I did because I didn't even know how to communicate it.
What I should have started with was the exact injury, which was you slipped in the bathroom and fell your back over the edge of a bathtub and fractured
my spine.
Fractured your spine.
So,
and thought it was a herniated disc that everybody's telling you, giving you wrong diagnoses initially.
Okay, so here's what happened initially. Was I went running into the bathroom to tell my wife, we were day trading cryptocurrency like assholes. And I went to go tell her that Ethereum, this was 2021, so I think it had just either cost like $3,000 a token, not that it matters. I went running into the bathroom.
You're excited and you run in the bathroom.
And the floor was wet, right? So I go running in to be like, sell, because we thought I was gonna crash after it hit 3,000. And I slip on the floor and fall back in such a way that I crack my spine on the edge of the bathtub. And it's one of those, Ellen DeGeneres had a comedy sketch about walking into a glass door. I don't know if you ever saw it, where she's like, oh, no, fine. Has anybody seen my eye? I cannot find my eye. And that's exactly, because your kids are there, your wife, you're like, oh, I'm good. But you're like, fuck, wow, am I okay? I don't know.
And you ignored it.
I thought it's bruised, right? Like, oh, I'm tight, I'm stressed. Oh, my low back is just tight. Oh, I have a really tight psoas. Oh, I'm moving out of California. I've got all this stuff going on. I'm stressed. Oh, it's metaphorical for the weight of the world being on my shoulders. What a bunch of bullshit. And that's never who I am. But I thought maybe, right? Maybe I'm somatizing all the stress in my low back. So I keep going about my life and I'm doing all the wrong shit. I'm stretching. My then 9-year-old is walking on my back, smashing me with the friggin' massage gun. So the long and the short of it is doing all the wrong things. I took this injury and subsequently herniated 3 discs because my back had seized up and everything was out of alignment. So the long and the short of the biomechanics is that in twisting and turning and rotating and with my spine so out of alignment, I essentially herniated 3 discs. And towards the end, so this is now 3 months later, we're in Miami. I'm in so much pain. And I try to go into this cat-cow stretch and I feel a lightning bolt shoot down my leg. And I was like, what is this? This is not my appendix. This is not, it didn't even occur to me. None of it, which is crazy because I, by the way, owned a sports medicine facility.
Oh my gosh.
And worked under the supervision of sports medicine doctors and physical therapists for years before I was on Biggest Loser. And still, I didn't put it together. So my wife rushes me to the emergency room. My business partner comes over, carries me into the car, carries me into the hospital. And they could only do a CAT scan. And for some reason, they couldn't do an MRI. And they're like, oh, you have impingement of this nerve. And the long and the short of it is I finally get this MRI. I finally get the MRI to this guy, Dr. Stuart McGill, who's arguably the most incredible expert in spine hygiene, the health of your spine, I would say in the world, but I'm obviously partial. And he looks at my MRI and he goes, when did you fracture your spine? And they already diagnosed me, by the way, with 3
With the
herniated
discs,
discs,
right.
right? So I was like, this guy is the expert. I was like, no. I'm like, idiot. In my mind, I'm like, oh God, this guy's an idiot. And I was like, no, Dr. McGill, I have 3 herniated discs. He's like, I know you have herniated discs. We're on FaceTime, like my MRI. He's like, but you fractured your L3 vertebrae. Don't you see this little mark? And it's like this black mark, the size of my pinky nail on my vertebrae. And I was like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden, I put it together. But what kept me from walking was the disc stuff. And it was L3 to L4, L4 to L5, L5 to S1. And the truth of the matter was a combination of things. I did need to get an epidural, and it allowed me to stand. And then in being able to stand, Stu was able to work with me to rehabilitate me. And the whole thing from the very first injury to me walking again was probably 9 months.
And for someone like you,
Ugh,
who does nothing
crazy.
but move and needs to move, what was there a moment, like a low moment where that you remember where you were scared
I hate to
that
say
you weren't
this.
gonna be Jillian again?
I don't want to say this because it's not the message I want to give. But if we're, unfortunately, if we're being honest, and this is not me giving you like the whole expert speech, you completely understand why somebody would feel suicidal in that position. And I don't subscribe to this whole like universe, hippity dippity. But at the end of the day, there was so much there for me with regard to learning certain lessons I needed to learn. I have a member of my family who has a chronic pain condition that I never understood, secretly judged. And my grandmother also had, it's kind of like, and I remember this individual at one point telling me, like, if this gets worse, I'm gonna kill myself. And you're like, oh, for fuck's sake. Mind you, I was in my 20s, right? And you're like, okay, you fucking mess. Like, I was like, oh, I'm supposed to understand this and learn my lesson and find the empathy and subsequently understand it in my work and help people who, oh, you have an injury? And I would give you the advice, like, I'm ashamed to say it. I'd be like, oh, well, work around the injury. Oh, you lower body injury? Let's shadow box. Let's get in the pool. Like these absurd platitudes. Because you don't understand.
Yeah.
When people get hooked on shit like OxyContin, I think whether I wanted to admit it or not, I was like, oh my God, pathetic, weak. I would have taken anything if it had worked. Anything to get out of that pain. Fortunately for me, it didn't work. So, and I say fortunately because while I suffered,
Well, then you
who knows where it would have gone.
Correct.
Yeah, it just did not work. It didn't impact the pain at all. I didn't take OxyContin, but they did give me oxycodone and muscle relaxers. None of it worked.
Did you get to that point mentally where you thought about
Oh my
taking your
God,
life?
I was like, if this doesn't get better, because you can't, you're not a mom. I couldn't take my kids to school. You can't go to their sporting events. You can't participate in their life in any way. I can't have sex with my wife. I can't, not to be gross, but you can't be a functioning partner. Can't go to dinners. I was like, even though everyone kept telling me, you'll be fine. I was like, well, explain to me how. Because what they'll tell you is, well, the disc doesn't ever go back, but you'll be fine. And I'm a big mechanism person. So I'm like, well, how am I going to be fine then? And you just will. I swear to God, you're like, well, how? Yeah, you just will. I really don't even understand how. I don't know how. Somehow, you'll be fine. And, Stu was like, well, you'll only be fine if we manage it and we do this and we do that and we strengthen your core and we restabilize your spine. And he did say to me, I'll never forget it. He goes, listen, I'm not going to lie to you, Jill. He's like, you're never going to have your old back. And tears were streaming down my face. But he's like, I'll tell you this much, though. There were point guards I had guarding Shaquille O'Neal with injuries worse than yours. In other words, you're just going to have faith in the fact that I'm the expert and I'm telling you you'll be fine. And another individual who told me was Andrew Hecht, who is the head of HSS in New York, who's also incredible and helped me out immediately over the weekend. Because Miami's great, but not for healthcare.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a different episode. So a friend reached out to Andrew Hecht, who reached out to me, and he's like, I got you. I have a friend who's gonna help you get an epidural immediately. Don't panic, you'll be fine. Then I found Stu to help rehabilitate me. But when you actually are like, okay, I had construction knee pads and I would crawl on my hands and knees around the house.
I'm trying to visualize
It was
you
insane.
doing that and what must have been going through your heart, your head at that.
I just kept thinking, if it's never fine, like that's okay. I've had a great, this is terrible. I don't want anyone to think this. I'm just being honest with where you get to, and the pain is so bad. I would reserve a 10 for fire. I burns. Outside of that, it is a 9, and it is nonstop, and it is so excruciating, and I would just cry from the pain, and you could not stop it. Nothing would stop it. And it would come at night, worse than during the day. And you would just lay there and wait for it. Because around 11 o'clock, it would become, I would feel like I was being sent to hell overnight. I had to sleep in a different room from my wife because I would just crawl on the floor and writhe in pain. It was so bad. And yet, so many people go through this. I remember Josh Axe, who's a friend of mine, he was like, Jill, I went through this and I had to piss in a cup. I couldn't get off the ground. And I'm thinking so many people go through this and nobody wants to. People
do you realize that that's why you keep kind of looking at the camera like, I'm not saying
you're gonna be okay.
No, but you give these qualifiers.
You will be okay. But you do need to take the necessary steps.
It's just interesting to me because you give these qualifiers, I'm not trying to tell you, but, or I don't want to admit
I'm not
this.
an expert in this kind of stuff.
I know, but that's not the point. For me, Jill, the point right now is the fact that you just said it. So many people go through this privately, quietly.
How?
So, but the importance of you saying it, that Jillian Michaels, the Jill, was on the ground, fearful and contemplating things that have never gone through your mind before.
No, God, no. But you're like, this is no way to live. I can't live like this.
But you're sharing it. And by sharing it, you're helping others realize they're not the only one. I hope that you feel the power in that.
I guess that the message would be if you feel this way, you'll be okay. Because I would be the first one to say.
But how'd you pull yourself out of it though? Because you could have stayed
to get better.
So when your body
started to get better.
Okay.
So what you have to do, because you will always, by the way, find the stories on the internet of the people who are like, I never get better, I'm in chronic pain. You can't. I know somebody who was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and they said, well, only 5% of people with this survive. And he goes, well, then I guess I'll be one of the 5%. And he was. So my answer is, there are success stories out there, find them. Commit yourself to being one of them. You can play a role in the outcome of this, but you do have to do the work, right? My friends who have similar issues, not as severe, but back issues, back pain, they still bend down and pick shit up like this. I'm like, I told you don't do, I told you don't do that. You can't do that.
I have it now. My trip out here, it's been a disaster, but I literally, so when you stand up, it's not like that, right? So now I'm squatting to pick up my shoes, right?
100%.
But you have to retrain your mind to do things differently than you have for 50 years.
Forever, end of story. That's it. It does not change now. You will have to live differently.
Yeah.
It's actually, you know what's interesting? Here's additional silver lining for people who don't do what I do, because professionally I could take something away from it in that I could be more helpful to people that look to me for advice on fitness, right? Personally, I had a huge catharsis with the member of my family that I had quietly judged for all these years. And I needed that humbling lesson. But I also am way better with my fitness in ways that I probably took for granted for a long time. Here are two reasons. I always thought there was a gimme out there, which is really stupid. But what I mean is, I would probably do some really crazy shit. Like, we have jet skis and motorcycles and horses. And it's like, I was like, I get one accident. No, you actually kind of don't get one accident.
Depending on how bad.
I would, to get out there in Miami on my jet ski in like a small craft morning and jump the weight. And I'm like, woo! My wife was like, I hate that you do this. Why do you do this? Crazy. I always was that kind of person, motorcycles and all the things. Now, the one like the blue diamond slopes with my snowboard instructor. Because I'm just not going to risk it. So who knows what was waiting for me? Maybe it would have broken my neck.
Yeah.
And in addition, I'm so good about my spine hygiene that I even have this little walking pad with a desk on top of it. I never sit anymore while I work. Because I used to be like,
right.
Yeah. The computer.
You're at the tall table now, standing.
Yeah. On a walking pad. And I probably get well over 10,000 steps a day at like 1.8 miles per hour doing my work. Because I can't sit.
Oh my gosh, that's
Pain
genius.
is like bananas. I can't sit. If I don't sit and I walk and I have a good mattress and I continuously stabilize my spine and I don't do anything I used to do on Instagram, stupid, that's just to make somebody stop scrolling, by the way, that's you never incorporate into a fitness routine. I've actually improved my health.
Wow.
And been more mindful than I was previously.
Based on I assume, one of the low points of your life, maybe it had to, again, you don't believe universe, whatever. It's part of a journey, right?
100%.
That we're all on.
Absolutely.
And it happened a little bit. I mean, we're young. I'm just going to say that.
Oh, are we?
Yes, we're young.
Are we?
Yes. Just like we're healthy. We can do it. We are young, damn it.
Do you feel spiritually young? I feel 100,000 years old.
No, I feel like a child. I feel immature. Let's go.
Really?
Yes.
God.
Okay. No, I'm so surprised because your energy is
sometimes
the
I
opposite.
Feel like my running joke is like with vampires. I'm like, I'm the maker. I'm like the oldest one in the room.
That blows me away. I want to end on this because I think it's the most important thing.
Okay.
Your babies. And I don't know. I know the story and it was so crazy how you found out that you were able to bring Lou from Haiti, right? The day that Phoenix was being born.
Yeah.
Big picture because they're beautiful kids. We're going to show some pictures. I know how much it has changed me and humbled me in all the best ways, important ways, and also while trying to balance a big career and, like you said, marriage and all those things. But what are you most proud of right now with that role as a mom? I hope you're not hard on yourself. I feel like you already are. But
okay. There's a lot of things I'm proud of. My parenting skills are not necessarily one of them, but I can tell you it's the Jack Nicholson line from As Good as It Gets when he looks at Helen Hunt and he says, "You make me want to be a better man." They force me to become a better person.
Yeah.
And, my son did something that made me so mad. And he was triangulating between my ex and I, and it's like, oh, mama does this to me. Oh, mommy does that to me. And it's like, he kind of plays us against each other.
They're good at that.
And they are, right? And you allow it because you're not talking. And I was really pissed off. I heard something and it felt like a betrayal, like a really deep betrayal. And I was talking to his therapist because I'm like, help me handle this the right way, because I swear to, if this was not my son, I would never, like the defense mechanisms, the grace, the Christ-like forgiveness is not in my soul. I would be like, you are dead to me, Dad. Lose my number. We're not even going to talk about it. But with your kids, you're like, oh, you're the parent. You have to reach out. You have to take the higher ground. Yeah. And I swear if it was anyone but my kid, that relationship would be over.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm limited. So they force you to be a better person. And I will say that I am proud of those incremental changes I've made in all of my dysfunctions. But damn it, it's not easy.
You're proud of the incremental changes you've made.
In improving my dysfunctions.
Trying to end on a high note here, and you're like barely. No, but like I've noticed you don't. I think you're so humble, and I think it's something that a lot of people maybe would be surprised. I mean, I've gotten an opportunity now for the last hour and a half, but like
professionally, I'm
children,
not. Professionally, I am great at my job. And I will tell you, I am amazing in my job.
You are.
I do my homework.
Oh.
I bulletproof myself. I make sexy promises to my audience. I keep them in every other aspect of my life.
Well,
I make no
perfect.
promises.
We can't be, but I know that you have helped millions, including me, in those ways. But to me, I mean, your courage to do so many other things besides when the cameras are on, behind the scenes at The Biggest Loser, whatever it is, with just sharing what you went through with your back injury. People need to know that. And the vulnerability with being a mother, which is the freaking hardest job that there is and the most thankless job that there is, the most exhausting and rewarding and all of these things. Yes.
There's the thank you piece that pisses me off too. I'm like, really?
I know.
Do you think I want to be at a ball pit with you and your buddies on a Saturday?
I know. I want to sleep. I'm tired because I'm giving you guys this incredible lifestyle. I know. But just, you've done so much so well and are leading in so many beautiful ways. And I hope that you said, well, I didn't appreciate what I was going through until my body got better. I pray that you can appreciate what you're doing at home as well. Now, not when we're on our deathbed or in rocking chairs or something.
Right.
Like,
you're right.
Right now we have, right?
You're absolutely right.
And I'm not trying to preach. I just feel this like,
Please do, actually. You're
so
good at it.
hard on yourself. And like, I have this whole thing. And again, starting over as a single mom and with the kids and the crazy career and screw-ups and mistakes and devastation. It's like, my God, do we give ourselves grace ever? Like ever. And I'm not talking about work because that's not going to be on your tombstone.
Good point. Yeah,
right?
interesting.
It's not.
Yep.
But like, when
that's actually why I ended up having kids. I was like, well, am I ever going to get to the end of my life and think I wish I'd spent more days at the office?
And that's so cliche,
yeah.
But I mean, it is so true.
It's true.
But I beat the crap out of myself for so many things, but to give ourselves that grace, because you're doing your best at that moment.
You're right.
And then the next day we try to be a little better. And then we fall back. And you know what? Good. I have my red wine. I'll feel better. It's all good, right? And it's not cocaine. Give me my wine. Leave me alone, right? We're all so damn hard on ourselves, especially as women. And so I just promise me that. And when we meet again,
definitely
grace with ourselves.
You're absolutely right.
I love you. And
thank you.
Sorry, is that a lot? First meeting, I love you. But thank you so much for sharing and opening up.
I respect the space that you've given me and the opportunity to be here and share with you and everything that you're doing. And it's absolutely mutual. And I look forward to coming back in the future.
Oh, that's on tape, guys. She says she's coming back. But oh no, we're best friends in Florida, remember?
That's right. And here, I got to come back and forth here too. I have family here still, but I'm not a resident.
Yeah. High five on that. Thank you.
Oh my God, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. That was so much fun.